Today we are diving into a really significant piece of legislation. It addresses something incredibly serious and painful in South Africa: gender-based violence and femicide.
Yeah, it's not just another policy document. This act, the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Act 9 of 2024, it aims to build a real permanent structure.
Exactly. Not symbolic. It's a legally mandated effort. So our focus today is unpacking this act.
That's right. And for anyone tracking governance or law, this is, well, it's a big development. It got assent on May 24th, 2024. And crucially, it actually became active law on November 15th, 2024.
So it's live now.
It is. This means we're moving beyond just strategy papers to a statutory body with defined roles and actual measurable tasks.
Okay, so whether you're maybe studying law, involved in activism, or just want to understand the government's new direction here, our mission is to break this down. We need to get a handle on its purpose, how this new council is structured, and maybe most importantly, the accountability side of things. The teeth, if you will.
Let's do it.
All right, let's unpack this. Like any good legal text, we should probably start with the preamble. That's the why, isn't it?
It is. And what stands out here, I think, is the directness. It doesn't shy away.
Yeah.
It explicitly acknowledges that this crisis we're facing is deeply tied to South Africa's history. The legacy of institutionalized racism, sexism, exclusion, structural violence.
That connection feels important. It frames the problem differently.
Absolutely. It elevates it. This isn't just seen as a crime problem, but as a fundamental human rights issue tied directly to the Constitution. The Act makes sure to ground itself in the Constitution, especially chapters 1 and 2. We're talking equality, human dignity, freedom, and security of the person.
So it's built on solid legal foundations.
Very solid. And it links to international obligations, too. It sets a high bar for what this council has to achieve.
Okay, so what exactly is the council tackling? The definitions must be key here.
They are. Look at gender-based violence. The Act defines it very broadly. It's not just physical. It includes violence tied to gender, physical, sexual, yes, but also verbal, emotional, economic, domestic, even educational or psychological abuse or threats of abuse. It's comprehensive.
Acknowledging the different forms violence takes. But I think the femicide definition, that seems very carefully worded.
Extremely carefully, and intentionally so. It's defined as the killing of a female person or a person on the basis of gender identity as a female.
That phrasing seems significant.
It really is. It explicitly includes people based on their gender identity, recognizing those vulnerabilities. And it clarifies it covers killings by anyone, partner, family member, stranger. It gives the council a crystal clear focus for this specific lethal violence.
Right. Now, here's where I think it gets really interesting for how this thing actually works. The Act talks about how they'll tackle elimination.
The multi-sectoral, coordinated government and whole-of-society approach.
Yes. And it's stated as a requirement, not just a suggestion. It mandates bringing together government, civil society, the private sector, even the media.
Which is critical, isn't it? It recognizes that one entity, even a government one, can't possibly solve this alone. This collaboration is legally baked in.
So that multi-sectoral idea leads us nicely into the council's actual purpose and functions, right?
Yeah.
Section 2.
Exactly. Section 2 basically sets up the council as the central coordinating body. Its core job is providing that strategic leadership for eliminating GBV and femicide. It exists to be the statutory framework for that leadership.
Okay, strategic leadership. And then Section 4 lays out the objects, the specific goals. What are they?
Well, there are three main ones. First, coordinate that structured multi-sectoral effort we just talked about. Second, set the priorities short, medium, and long-term, making sure they line up with the national strategy. And third, crucially, facilitate sharing information and best practices among all these different players. Get everyone on the same page, essentially.
Sharing info.
Yeah.
That sounds simple, but can be really hard in practice across sectors.
It can be, but the mandatory functions in Section 5 add some real pressure here. This is where we see the operational requirements. The big one. The council must develop an action plan for the national strategy.
Okay, standard stuff for a new body.
But here's the kicker. Within 6 months of being established.
6 months? Wow. That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It is, especially when you look at what that plan needs to contain.
Yeah.
It can't just be a few bullet points. The Act demands it must be properly costed. They need to figure out the budget and set specific indicators and clear timelines for all the stakeholders involved.
All stakeholders. So that includes all those government departments, civil society groups?
Exactly. Imagine trying to get 8 government departments plus 7 non-state actors to agree on costs, indicators, and timelines and get it all formally documented in just 6 months. It's a huge undertaking.
What's the worry there? I mean, historically, tight deadlines on complex plans,
Right.
do they sometimes result in rushed, maybe less thorough work?
That's the inherent tension, isn't it? The urgency demands speed, but the complexity demands thoroughness. The Act tries to manage this risk through strict accountability, though.
How so?
Well, after that initial plan, the Council has an ongoing duty to coordinate the monitoring and evaluation of the entire national strategy, and their reporting is frequent and high level. They must report to the relevant minister at least 4 times a year.
4 times a year.
Yes. And the minister, in turn, must table that report in Parliament. So there's this continuous cycle of oversight built in, designed to keep the pressure on and ensure that action plan doesn't just sit on a shelf. They also have an advisory role to the minister on developments in international standards.
Okay, so constant reporting, parliamentary oversight. That definitely adds weight. Now, since performance and coordination are so key, who's actually driving this? The governance structure of the board must be crucial.
Absolutely crucial. And Section 6 designs the board to reflect that multi-sectoral approach we keep mentioning. It's not just an idea, it's built into who sits at the table.
So what does it look like? How many people?
Not more than 15 members, and it's carefully split. 7 representatives come from civil society and the private sector.
Ensuring those frontline voices are there.
Precisely. And then you have 8 representatives from key government departments or state organs.
Which ones are mandated? That tells you where the government sees the essential links.
It does. We've got Justice, the Police Service, SAPS, Health, Social Development, Basic Education, Cooperative Governance, the department focused on women, youth, and persons with disabilities, and the National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA.
That's a powerful lineup.
It is. But here's a really interesting detail, analytically speaking. The government members appointed must hold a rank no lower than Deputy Director General, a DDG.
Okay, unpack that for us. Why specify DDG level? What difference does that make practically?
A DDG is very senior within a government department, often second in command administratively. Mandating this level does 2 key things. First, it means decisions and information flow from the council shouldn't get stuck in lower bureaucratic levels. These people have clout. Second, it forces those 8 major departments to dedicate serious, high-level attention and resources to the council. It signals this isn't a side project, it's core business requiring top-level engagement.
That definitely elevates the council's influence within government machinery. Okay, what about the requirements for all board members, government or not?
They all need to be fit and proper persons, naturally. They need relevant knowledge or experience. The board should also broadly reflect the country's demographics. And an important point for the civil society members specifically, they have to undergo security screening before appointment.
Security screening. Okay. Now, you mentioned accountability earlier. What happens if someone isn't fit and proper? Are there clear disqualification rules?
Oh yes, Section 7 is fascinatingly strict here, clearly aiming to build public trust. You're automatically out if you've ever been convicted of a GBV or femicide-related offense.
That makes absolute sense, given the mandate. A non-negotiable.
Completely. But it goes further, tackling broader governance issues like corruption and misconduct. You're also disqualified if you've been removed from any office of trust think board positions, fiduciary roles because of misconduct. And the Act gives specific examples. Sexual harassment, corruption, theft, fraud. These are explicitly listed as grounds for disqualification.
Including sexual harassment is very direct.
Very. And even something like failing to properly disclose your financial or business interests can disqualify you. It sets a very high bar for integrity, covering both ethical conduct and financial probity.
Seems designed to prevent conflicts of interest and ensure the focus stays on the mission. What about the board's operational rules? How long do they serve? How often do they meet?
Members serve a term of 3 years. It's renewable only once, so a maximum of 6 years total. They must meet at least 4 times a year quarterly to maintain momentum.
And decision-making. How many need to be present?
The quorum, the minimum number needed to make valid decisions, is half the members plus 1. So for a full board of 15, you'd need 8 members present. This prevents a small group making crucial decisions.
Right, ensures broader consensus. Okay, let's shift from the board to the day-to-day running. Who manages the council operationally?
That falls to the chief executive officer, the CEO. The CEO is appointed by the board, not the minister, which is an important distinction for governance.
Appointed by the board. For how long?
For a 5-year term. And the CEO is the accounting officer, accountable directly to the board for the council's performance and financial management. The CEO's job is essentially to make the board's strategy happen. They establish the operational structures, set up technical teams if needed, manage the staff and daily affairs, and crucially, they're responsible for the comprehensive budgeting and ensuring strong internal financial controls are in place. They drive the purpose of the act on the ground.
Makes sense. The board sets strategy, the CEO implements. Now, you mentioned finances. Let's talk about the money. How is this council funded? Where does the budget come from?
Section 18 lays it out. The primary source is money appropriated by Parliament taxpayer funds allocated specifically for this. They can also receive donations and manage trust funds.
Okay. Parliamentary appropriation. Is there anything special about that funding?
Yes, very special. The Act designates these parliamentary funds as earmarked funds.
Earmarked. What does that mean in practice?
It's a critical protection. It means that money allocated by Parliament for the Council cannot legally be used for any other government purpose unless the board itself is consulted and the National Treasury gives its formal approval.
So it's ring-fenced. Protects the budget from being raided for other priorities.
Exactly. It provides a legislative firewall to ensure the resources dedicated to fighting GBV and femicide stay dedicated to that fight.
And given it's public money, the financial oversight must be rigorous.
Extremely rigorous. It has to be. The Act explicitly states the Council is governed by the Public Finance Management Act, the PFMA.
Right, the PFMA. For listeners who might not deal with public finance, what does PFMA compliance mean practically? What checks and balances does it impose?
It means the Council is subject to South Africa's strictest rules for handling public money. The CEO, as the accounting officer, has specific duties under the PFMA. They must ensure proper annual budgets are prepared, detailed financial records are kept, internal controls are strong, and annual financial statements are produced and audited. It's about transparency and preventing misuse of funds.
And the auditing process.
The accounts must be audited under the Public Audit Act, typically by the Auditor General. That final audited report then goes back to the minister, who tables it in Parliament. It closes that loop of financial accountability we talked about earlier.
Okay, strong financial controls.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, there was one other legal provision that caught my eye, Section 21, about using the council's name.
Ah, yes, the protection of identity. It's an interesting inclusion.
What does it do?
Basically, it makes it an offense for anyone to improperly use the council's name, its acronym, whatever that might be, its logos, or to falsely claim they are acting for or on behalf of the council.
So, trying to trade on the council's official status illegitimately.
Precisely. It's about maintaining the council's credibility and preventing confusion or misrepresentation. And it has teeth. A conviction could lead to a fine or up to 3 years imprisonment or both.
Okay, serious consequences for misrepresentation.
Right.
Let's try and pull this all together then. What's the big picture takeaway here?
Well, summing it up, this act creates a mandated, powerful structure, a statutory body, not just a committee. Its whole purpose is to centralize and coordinate the national fight against GBV and femicide.
And it seems built for clout, with that high-level government representation from DDGs, the multi-sectoral board, and those strict accountability rules for members covering everything from GBV convictions to sexual harassment and financial disclosure.
Exactly. And if you connect it to the wider landscape, this act aims to move the national strategy beyond just being a policy document that might change with political winds. It establishes a permanent, legally defined entity. It's financially regulated under the PFMA, ensuring money is tracked.
Yeah.
And it has those clear, continuous reporting lines right up to Parliament.
So the goal is sustained, measurable implementation with consequences.
That seems to be the intent. The presence of those DDGs, the PFMA compliance, the mandatory reporting, it's all designed to embed this work deep within the state machinery and hold it accountable over the long term.
It certainly sounds like a structure designed for durability, but maybe also for some complex internal dynamics coordinating all those players.
That's always the challenge, isn't it? Translating a well-structured law into effective action on the ground.
Which brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. We've seen the Act mandates this highly complex multi-sectoral council involving 8 major government departments and 7 non-state actors. We've also seen the non-negotiable deadline, deliver a detailed, adequately costed action plan with specific indicators and timelines for everyone within just 6 months. So the question is, how will this new council realistically balance the sheer urgency of the GBV crisis with the immense, detailed work required to produce a genuinely comprehensive and workable plan, costings, indicators, timelines, and all within that incredibly tight, legally mandated 6-month window? The tension between speed and quality isn't just a challenge now, it's embedded in the law itself.
Something to watch very closely as the council gets up and running.
Indeed. We've done the deep dive on the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Act. We really hope you feel better equipped to understand this critical legislation and what it aims to achieve. Until next time.